Yeah.
Muted. Yes. Is Carl not coming? Are we on that? Yes.
Yes. All right, good evening. This meeting is called to order. First item of business is approval of minutes for October 22nd, 2024. Get a motion to approve those, please.
So moved.
Second.
All right. Discussion?
Well, in order to approve these minutes, do we need a majority of the people that were present at that meeting? Because that would be.
Yeah, I believe we do.
Is that the way that works?
There'd be three of us.
Chris?
You have three that were at that meeting?
Out of four, yes.
3 out of 4?
Kevin.
Yeah, that's fine.
All right.
Approve the minutes.
All right, well, I got a couple things. First page, after the call order, second paragraph, you spelled my name wrong.
Ooh.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
Second page.
First page,
Which page?
sorry. After the call order, the second paragraph. There's another one later on. That's okay.
You control searching your name.
No,
Okay.
so it's saved on my computer, it knows the name, so it
Yeah.
highlighted it red. I was
Oh,
like,
it automatically picked up.
I honestly thought it was this.
The AI is taking over.
All right, so bear with me here. Second page, the big paragraph, about halfway down. The line starts with area. It says area consisting, that should be consists, 12 parking spaces. And then continuing on after handicap accessible, there should be the word space there. So second to last paragraph on page 2. This is where Carl was asking about the grading. I actually had to go back to the video on this one because I didn't understand what it was talking about. So I'll just read it. The second line where it starts with which, so which will ensure adequate grading up to the old wall. Then Joe Catelli added, there will be a partial basement and they will continue rebuilding the other half of the old wall, not the back wall, which will be graded flat up to the wall and then going up. Got that, Susan?
Yep.
All right, cool. Next page, page 3. First paragraph, about halfway down. Talia Gillette asked if the analysis completed by Northeast Water Solutions should be took, not take. Took into account a sprinkler system. Remove the of.
Okay.
Okay, so same page, big paragraph at the bottom. 1, 2, 8 lines up from the bottom. So if you add the word about prior to 4, so you would need about 4 others to offset the cost, and adding not all of those building permits come before the planning board.
Okay.
Page 4, first paragraph, first line, where it says legislature, that should be legislation. 7 lines down, Jay Nicodem asked if a 4-unit apartment building aligns instead of that.
How many lines was, I see Jay Nicodem stated while he understands the board, is that the sentence?
No,
This is where it's.
no,
Oh, after tax revenue, Jay Nickum stated he doesn't believe the neighbors were
No.
included.
after it says the comprehensive plan says. This is on page 4. Sorry. My bad.
Okay, try that again.
Okay, so
Apologize.
first line where it says legislature should be legislation.
Yep.
7 lines down, it's kind of in the middle of the paragraph. Jay Nicodem asked that 4-unit apartment building, that should be changed to if.
Okay.
These minutes were 10 pages, by the way. So just bear with me here. All right, second to last paragraph. Second sentence. We're gonna start in the middle where it says which. Which will require a variance that will be heard later.
Okay.
Second line up from the bottom. Cabazano stated this property is perfect as it's a wide open 4,000 square foot building. And they will be fencing in 2,000 square feet, so add building and remove which.
Okay.
Next page, page 5. Second paragraph. Second line from the bottom, Cabazano stated they have the information instead of this.
Yep.
Okay. All right, so on the motion, further down from Carl, Carl motioned to approve the deferments of item B, C17, and D1. I added until final plan review for the application. So the motion didn't include when the items were being deferred, but they were being deferred to the final plan.
Okay.
Okay. Last paragraph, page 5. Second sentence starts Lodamar income housing. That should be houses.
Okay.
Page 6, first paragraph. 4 lines up from the bottom. At this time, the town engineer does not have any remaining comments on the traffic study, so add any remaining. And then continuing on, but there are still outstanding comments regarding the stormwater management report. Which I believe is now a true statement. Okay, now big paragraph, same page, halfway down. Supposed to be RIPTA, it says RIBTA. It should be RIPTA.
Okay.
Right. Jumping all the way to page 8.
Yay.
Yes. Right, we're gonna start.
Okay, I know it's our thing because,
No.
Dan, I'm gonna miss this.
I know.
No, that's what I'm saying. We're gonna have to appoint
Throwing that out there.
a new minutes czar is gonna have to be appointed.
That's already been discussed.
Are there enough notes that I can go to the bathroom quickly before we even actually get to the business?
Probably.
I think you're good.
I'm so sorry.
All right.
Dan,
Like
I,
go out to dinner and.
Dan will slow walk it if you're not back.
Dan and I have been a little busy. Okay, go ahead. Page
Yeah.
8.
This is my fault that we're in this position right now.
It's okay.
All right, 5th paragraph down, second sentence from the bottom. A lot of work as part of the PUD-VC regulations.
PUD/PVC.
VC, no, it's just PUD-VC. Planned Unit Development Village Center.
Okay.
Regulations due to the additional traffic that will be created when it has been developed.
Okay,
All right, so moving on to page 9. Second line down, there about 3/4 of the way through, there's the word beta. That should be all capitalized. That's the company name is Beta, all capitals.
Okay.
Yep. And then then my last name needs to be fixed on the following page, page 10, last paragraph. Now there's a highlight,
there's a couple on this one, yeah.
and I could not hear what the guy was saying.
Okay, so it's not just me.
No, so I was hoping maybe someone else listened that could pick it up, but
Yeah, there's one on page 9 and page 10. There's 2 highlighted where I couldn't hear. Did anyone else happen to get those?
really,
Could we just go to the abutting property, the property card and snag his name if it's similar or if it's.
See, no, that's what I normally try to do, but I wasn't able to pick it
Oh,
up.
okay.
That's why I was struggling, so I wasn't sure if anyone had it. And then, actually, you know what, Tully, you have his point of contact, so we will get that. At that meeting, you had a gentleman, took his name and number. You still
Oh.
have that paper?
Yes, I
Okay,
do.
so I can fill in that part, but on page 10, that was the one that I said I couldn't hear what he said in regards to that question. Did
Right.
anyone hear that one? Can I leave it as it's unaudible? Does that work? Or do you delete it? I feel like it was an answer to a question,
I
so
mean,
I didn't know what you guys wanted to do with it.
there's supposed to be minutes. I mean, we've made these more of like transcripts because they've been so detailed, which is good. when you go back and review it, so you could probably say that it was inaudible to the video.
The date or the timestamp is on there, so people wanted to go over it, right?
Yeah.
227,
Well, it'd be inaudible though.
well,
But that being said,
The point is made, we're talking about
you
font.
know, and like you said, these are intended to be minutes, which are a higher level and, not a transcript.
Okay. So cross it out entirely, that highlighted spot, or leave that time and say inaudible? Which one?
Inaudible, or
Okay.
either.
Oh,
yeah,
inaudible, everybody okay with
Fine,
that?
yes.
yeah, yeah.
I'll do it. Okay,
That covers it.
thanks for the patience, everyone.
I think you guys still got me for a whole meeting. 26th.
Yes.
Doesn't mean you gotta
Yes,
twist
we
the knife. It'll just be a quick one.
You could be the town council liaison of the board and you could still come in every time for minutes and. Yeah, okay.
Okay,
If that's the case,
All right.
then I'll be-
That way you're just here every Tuesday.
What
I'll
else?
join my buddy Bob.
Any other comments or discussion?
That wasn't.
All right, all in favor of approving the minutes of the October 22nd, say aye.
Aye.
Abstain.
And I'm abstaining also. I wasn't there. All right, we have no old business tonight. First and only item of new business, we have a dimensional variance and preliminary plan public hearing for Unified Development Plan Review for Pavlov's Play Care. Pavlov's Play Care for Dogs LLC, One Preserve Boulevard, Wyoming, Rhode Island, and Offshore Development LLC, 400 South County Trail, Suite A207, Exeter, Rhode Island, for a proposed dog are located at 93B Kingstown Road, Wyoming, Rhode Island.
So I plan on just reading my memo into the record because this is the first time you've ever encountered a Unified Development Plan Review application. So I think it makes sense to kind of explain how that process goes.
Thank you.
And I'll give you a little bit of information about the application itself. So the applicants would like to open a dog daycare in the former Grow and Crazy building. A dog daycare aligns with use code 754, dog boarding or breeding kennel. A dog boarding kennel is defined as a facility other than a pound or animal shelter where dogs not owned by the proprietor are sheltered, fed, and watered in return for a fee. That comes from Article 18.16, Section 1816.020, and then it has the specific use code, which is 754. This use is permitted in the planned development zone. There are specific dimensional regulations for this use pursuant to Chapter 1820, Section 1820.060B. Dog boarding or breeding kennels, except those in the PD and PUB zoning districts, shall be located on a lot having a minimum area of 10 acres excluding wetlands. Dog boarding or breeding kennels in the PD zoning district shall be located on a lot having a minimum of 4 acres excluding wetlands. All buildings and outdoor runs or exercise areas associated with the kennel use shall be at least 150 feet from any lot line. A variance from Article 18.20, Section 18.20.060B is required. The existing structure is a single-story, 4,050 square foot building with an existing OWTS. It is at one corner 50 feet from the rear property line and another quarter 61 feet from the rear property line. The proposed fence, which will be 4 feet high, is proposed at one corner 15 feet from the rear property line. At the other corner, the fence would be approximately 55 feet from the rear property line. Unified Development Plan Review. Pursuant to Rhode Island General Law 4523-32-9I, or 9-1 actually, development plan review may be used where there is a change in use of the property where no extensive construction of improvements is sought. When a development plan review application requires relief from the literal provisions of the zoning ordinance in the form of a variance or special use permit, the application shall be reviewed by the planning board under Unified Development Plan Review pursuant to 4523-50.1, and a request for review shall accompany the preliminary plan application. That's from Rhode Island General Law 4523. 50D1(2). Under Rhode Island General Law 452350D, there are two kinds of development plan review, administrative and formal. Administrative review consists of one stage of review, while formal development plan review consists of two stages of review, preliminary and final. That's from Rhode Island General Law 452350D. Due to the variance component, this application is subject to formal development plan review. While the preliminary plan stage is heard by the planning board, the final stage is delegated to the administrative officer. Pursuant to Rhode Island General Law 452350.1B2, requests for relief from the literal requirements of the zoning ordinance shall be submitted as part of the application materials for the preliminary plan stage of review. A public hearing on the application, including any variance and special use permit requests that meets the requirement of subsection D of this section, shall be held prior to consideration of the preliminary plan by the planning board or relevant permitting authority. The planning board or commission authorized permitting authority shall conditionally approve or deny the requests for the variances and/or special use permits before considering the preliminary plan application for a minor subdivision or land development project. Approval of the variances and/or special use permits shall be conditioned on approval of the final plan. Per 452350.1D, all unified development review applications only require a single public hearing. As stated above, the variance component is heard first. In sum, the board will: 1, open the public hearing; 2, hear the applicant's variance request; 3, accept comments from the public in relation to the variance request; 4, conditionally approve or deny the variance request; 5, hear the applicant's preliminary plan application; 6, accept comments from the public in relation to the preliminary plan application; 7, close the public hearing; 8, vote on the preliminary plan application. Variances. Under Unified Development Plan Review, the planning board hears variance requests. Pursuant to Rhode Island General Law 452441D, in granting a variance, the zoning board of review, or where unified development review is enabled pursuant to 452446.4, the planning board or commission shall require that evidence to the satisfaction of the following standards is entered into the record of the proceedings. 1, that the hardship from which the applicant seeks relief is due to the unique characteristics of the subject land or structure and not to the general characteristics of the surrounding area, and is not due to a physical or economic disability of the applicant, excepting those physical disabilities addressed in 452430A16. The hardship is not the result of any prior action of the applicant, and that the granting of the requested variance will not alter the general character of the surrounding area or impair the intent or purpose of the zoning ordinance or the comprehensive plan upon which the ordinance is based. Further, when it comes to a dimensional variance, the planning board or commission shall, in addition to the above standards, require that evidence is entered into the record of the proceedings showing that in granting a dimensional variance, the hardship suffered by the owner of the subject property if the dimensional variance is not granted amounts to more than a mere inconvenience, meaning that relief sought is minimal to a reasonable enjoyment of the permitted use to which the property is proposed to be devoted. The fact that a use may be more profitable or that a structure may be more valuable after the relief is granted is not grounds for relief. The zoning board of review, or where unified development review is enabled pursuant to 452446.4, the planning board or commission has the power to grant dimensional variances where the use is permitted by special use permit. And for a variance to be granted, all the aforementioned standards must be met. So,
Well, thank you for going through that.
No?
yes, it's a new thing that we're doing in town now initially. So there were laws on the books that dealt with unified development review, which basically gave communities the ability to opt into or out of. We no longer have that ability. We now have to pursue review under the Unified Development Plan Review because that's what the state law now says. So if you have any questions about the mechanics of that, go ahead.
So, okay.
Good, sir.
Just to clarify, so tonight it is one public hearing, right?
Yes.
Open and close one public hearing,
Yes,
and we're addressing the variance, though, at least your
Yes.
recommendations, address the variance, but we could vote on the variance conditionally.
so the way that the variance
That's a little
works
tricky.
is that you hear and discuss the variance request. And depending upon the disposition of the board in relation to the variance request, then that will either mean that you review the preliminary plan, or if for some reason you decide to deny the variance, then you wouldn't be hearing the preliminary plan
Yeah.
because you're denying what would allow the preliminary plan to be put forth. Not that I necessarily think that's going to happen, but that's just how this would work mechanically.
So we need to, so we do need to vote on the variance though.
Yes,
we
but it is, you're
move.
voting, but it is conditional. And it's ultimately predicated upon the approval of the final plan. So the first hurdle is the variance component. Because ultimately, you know, say this is a completely different application and the board is like,
Hypothetically.
yes, hypothetical. If the board says, okay, you know, we don't think that we can grant your variance. As a result, we can't approve your preliminary plan because it's contingent upon the granting of the variance. Or you could, you know, feasibly, you could approve the variance with conditions wherein you say, we agree to this, but you have to put up a row of arborvitae, you know, and then we'll say yes, because we're concerned about privacy or, you know, that
Right.
kind of thing. You don't necessarily have to attach those kinds of conditions to the variance, but that's just, again, for discussion purposes.
But if we think there's yet a condition we could place that would make the variance acceptable, where the way it's presented tonight may not be, we can do that.
Yes.
Okay.
So, I mean, obviously, it has to be anything within reason and within
Right.
the board's purview. You couldn't, I mean, if they were doing a dog daycare and you said, I'll only allow this if you also put an ice cream factory there, then that probably would not fly.
Gotcha.
It has to be something reasonable, and it has to be something that makes sense within the context of the request that's being made.
Okay.
I have like two procedural questions.
Sure.
Unrelated to this application at all.
Sure.
Are you going to administratively review and approve unified development or these situations when it's just change of use and there's no variance? What's the plan for that?
I don't have an answer for that off the top of my head.
Yeah, you know what's funny? I had the same question. I highlighted it because this is, you called it informal, formal development plan review.
Yeah.
We're on a formal development plan review, but when is it not? Because
So it
like if
is-
you had the same application but no variance,
Hmm.
you would just do that administratively.
Is that, so it just needs, doesn't go to the planning board? Is that the only difference between
I-
formal and informal?
Yeah, but if you were to do that and no variance was needed, that new use would effectively, you know, meet dimensional requirements, dimensional regulations for that zone anyway, right?
But the use is already, well, in this one case, this use is already approved. We changed that a couple of years ago.
Yeah,
I'm really not prepared to opine
okay,
on any kind of specific.
okay, that's fine.
Because
I
there's
was
still-
I was wondering if you had an idea
Yeah.
of moving
If
forward,
you-
like if a use is
yeah.
allowed and it's just change of use, no substantial change to the building, like, does it need to come before us?
Is it just the variance that meets the requirement that it has to go through the planning board?
Yes.
Special use permit.
It's a special use permit or variance. Basically, anything that would require you to have either some relief or some additional review, like when you have a special use permit. You know, you can pursue a use that requires a special use permit if you get the special use permit issued. So you can't just do it without having the special use permit. So
It's
You know.
that.
if you, I'd be happy to produce an additional memo that gives more information about how all of this works, if that's something the board would be
Yeah, that would
interested
probably
in.
be
Yeah, it'd be
We
really
had-
helpful since.
We had a lot of
it's-
discussion on this when we developed the new language, but
Yeah,
now it's actually, we're implementing it and,
Yeah.
it would be helpful.
I think like at least having an agenda item in the future where we can actually have a conversation about, you know, how this practically works, you
mhm,
know, with the kind of applications that you see.
Yeah.
Would be helpful.
Yeah, I think when we developed it, we actually said that, let's just move this forward
Yeah.
because of the new state zoning or the new state regulations, and we may need to tweak it as we go based on our experience with it, so probably a good idea, I can say, Greg.
Yeah.
And did you have something else?
And
Also,
another thing, but, you know, I guess it's because we're not necessarily body with more variances on a regular basis.
So the plan, so I think I know where you're getting at with the variance question.
Okay,
So if it's a variance that does not have to do with any other component of an application process,
Yeah.
that still goes to the zoning board.
I wasn't, no, that's not what I was gonna ask. I was gonna
Okay.
ask, as
Okay,
part of
okay.
the unified development review, can you foresee a situation where certain elements of a variance request we would grant while others we wouldn't?
Well,
Right.
each variance request stands on its own 2 feet, just like every waiver.
So if
request.
it's like a front setback and a side yard setback, we would take those on separately as variance.
You would look at them in the total. I don't think that you would I don't think you would have one request for a variance for the front and then one request for a variance for the side. I think that they would be
But-
sought at the same time,
Yeah,
and I think,
but we couldn't, and again, not
Yeah.
at all applicable to this application.
Yeah.
We couldn't pull them apart if something was objectionable, but the variance request is as it stands. Kind of like a package deal, and we would have to either approve a variance request.
that is a
or
Chris
just-
question,
Yeah,
okay.
not a me question.
You can approve one
Yeah,
and deny the other,
okay.
but once you deny one,
Oh, no, I
Effectively-
understand.
The
Yeah,
answer is
yeah,
yes.
Yeah, I guess it was more
So they all-
hypothetical, like
they all
if there
have
was
to
like
be-
a wide array of,
Yeah.
of, packaged variance requests within
Yeah.
one,
Or, I mean, feasibly, so say you had someone who was seeking a variance for frontage and a variance for the side yard setback.
Mm.
And they wanted to put something, say they had clearance for 20 feet, but they wanted to put it 10 feet from the property line, and then if the planning board was hearing it, they said, actually, we think 15 is more appropriate.
Okay.
I think
Yeah.
you have that kind of
Mhm.
flexibility, but again, I would defer to the
Okay.
solicitor in relation to that.
you can split the two.
Okay.
And matter of fact, you should.
Okay.
And then we can, when that comes up though,
Okay.
let's
Yeah, yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
let's get into
I'm-
this.
so-
all right. Any other questions of Talia?
Yeah,
Or
this is real quick. So this variance works the same way a variance goes to the zoning board. So abutters were notified that
Yes.
there's a public hearing, so
Yes.
anyone that want to come tonight,
Yes.
speak about it. Okay. Awesome.
Yes.
Very simple.
Anything else before I get a motion to open public hearing?
Make a motion to open public hearing.
All right,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We do have the applicants here, in the event that they'd like to make any additional comments in relation to the variance requests, or they'd like to just introduce themselves a little bit more formally, or.
Yeah, or if you'd just like to give a general overview of the project?
I'm Karen Pisano. And I'm Casey Roberts. And we want to open Pavlov's. I brought pictures of what the new sign will look like, and then on the back, a little bit more for you to see where the variance request is.
So this is gonna be marked, applicant exhibit 1. The record.
Thank you.
So the indoor is, it's just wide open right now. It's 4,000 square feet. Big garage doors on either end, which, allow for great circulation and fresh air and for the dogs to come and go. On the inside, we're gonna use those colorful panels to section the dogs off by small and then medium to large. Our plan is not to take any sort of alpha or dogs that are bigger than we can handle, so we're probably gonna limit it to 40 pounds and less. The variance that we're asking for is if you go behind the building, where the property line is, it's sort of on an angle. We're gonna go straight behind the building, straight across 24 feet off of the building. And at the very, on the right-hand side of it, because it goes like this, it's a lot shorter to the property line than it is on the left-hand side of the building. So we would ask that sort of it goes from 24, it leaves about 24 feet between the building and the property line on one end and about 56 on the other. So it kind of graduates from 24 feet off the property line to about 56 feet. And we can make the area smaller for sure, but it allows plenty of room to get behind the fence. It leaves plenty of room. It would give us 2,000 square feet of outdoor space for the dogs. It comes about 6 feet off of the building on the right-hand side, and it's not visible. The fence won't be visible to anybody, except for the people at Shoreline Auto, and they're fine with it, and Mama Earth will see it on the right-hand side, and she's happy, for the additional business in the area. So both of those neighbors who will see the fence, and I think I included a picture of what the fence will look like. It's kind of a chain link with the little privacy dividers.
So is the fence location, as you just described it, is that what you submitted on your site plan?
Yeah.
Okay.
How many dogs are you allowed to have?
It's very fluid. We're gonna ask for the state license. We can't get the state license until you approve this license.
So what's the maximum?
And 250 based on the space. We're not looking, I don't think we're gonna ask for that. I don't think we'll get that anyway. But that's what the maximum based on the square footage would be. I think we're probably looking more like 75.
Tally, did we receive any correspondence from any of the abutters or any of the other businesses associated with this zone?
No, you've not.
Okay.
Have you verified the setbacks and stuff? I don't see any
So,
setback measurements. on the site.
so some of them are in your packet and then some are from, so this site was previously developed for Growing Crazy and there were some setbacks that were identified on those and I used those.
Okay.
And but that's what's included on the second page, which speaks to where the building is in relation to the property line and also where the fence would be in relation to the property line. So as it stands, the building itself is, I mean, the building is existing. It's not going to be moved for this use. So the variance is for both the building and for the fence. Because the building is already existing and it's already where it is situated in relation to the property line.
Yeah, the proposed fence on the handout and that is a bit different. 4 foot rather than 6 foot, significantly different. I'm not sure which one is proposed.
We'd prefer 6 foot. When we first talked to Talia and put the plan in, 4 foot, I don't think required a height variance. But the panels that we want to use are 6 feet, so we would prefer 6, but if 4 is a deal breaker, we could certainly stick with 4.
Just curious.
Yeah.
Do we need a height variance for a 6 foot
Yeah, I
fence?
thought you were allowed to have 6.
Probably
That's what I think. I think it's 6 or, yeah,
I
that's,
think residential is 7, that's what I was told.
I think you're,
I thought it was 6.
but that's not on the request tonight anyway.
Yeah.
no,
Yeah.
I think 6 doesn't require a variance, and that is the size of the panels that we like, so,
That question hasn't been posed to me.
yeah. And I can edit your plan, Talia, to show the 6 instead
Well,
of,
I
I
think,
guess
I
we just,
think
you know,
that's a building code issue, planning board issue.
But what was presented was 4. If the board prefers 6, I'm sure that you can make that.
I'm just thinking, I mean, there's no cover on this, that outdoor run, is there?
no.
I mean, I know you're not accepting large dogs, but even, I mean, a small, energetic, athletic dog can.
That's why we'd like to go to 6.
I mean, I know, I had a border collie. and
Yeah.
She could get over pretty much anything.
Yeah,
We like 6.
we'd prefer 6 if it's okay with the board for sure.
So my whippet mix could get over 4 feet. We installed a 5
Wow.
foot fence because he could jump it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
some athletic dogs will spring right over that, but.
Tell you,
it's a
so
little more
for,
detail.
when a zoning board handles this for a variance request, this is a little bit different than we're used to seeing for planning board applications. Is this enough that's required for a variance request? Is kind of like a hand sketch and maybe some changes to what was originally presented? This normal course of
So,
action?
so this is part of the application for the totality. I can't really speak to what the requests before the zoning board are because I'm not the zoning enforcement officer. I do not attend zoning board meetings. When asked to look at applications, I do, but that doesn't happen very often because most of what the zoning board deals with is pretty cut and dry.
So I guess the question is, do we have enough to approve a variance request if the plan we had in our packet and we're being presented tonight is different?
That is for the board to make a determination on.
Do you
I
think
don't-
it's substantively different though?
Let me make a suggestion. there's a request for a variance for dimensional relief. It's really a rear yard setback. So the variance, it's a low standard, right? More than a scintilla, less than a preponderance. That's what the standard is. It's the lowest civil standard, the easiest to meet because it's the lowest. So what you want to focus in on is how much of a variance are they really asking for? I don't know that it's been specifically requested, but you need to know. So that when you make a decision,
Well, I thought it was like for, yeah, so.
one of them says it's 61 feet from the corner, one is. It was 61 and 50.
Right, but this proposed plan and then this one are drawn differently, and what I'm reading here
Right,
is.
This is squared
this-
off.
right,
way.
This says the outdoor runs or exercise areas associated with the kennel, you shall be at least 150 feet. Now, as Bryce said, what's 3 or 4 feet when you're within 15 feet of the boundary when the setback is 150 feet? I mean, at that point, a dog barking is not gonna matter if it's 5 feet, so. How
So
detailed do we need to be to make a decision on variance?
It should be pretty detailed because you're giving a specific relief as to the distance. The distance should be.
Right now, we don't have that.
I don't think we have.
So
that.
you're not going off, yeah, you're not going
Well-
off of that plan that.
The reason that we pulled it in is so that it's actually less of a variance, right? If we went all the way, right, we could probably get, can I look here?
Sure.
We could probably get 3,000 square feet of outdoor space if we did it the way that we had first looked at it. But then we thought we don't need it. It kind of looks neater and tighter and you can see it less from there. So what we'd like to do is just go straight. We feel like it still gives us enough room for the dogs. So it's sort of less of a variance than we had originally come in to ask for. Because that way there's much less variance required here. The only place that it's even slightly tight is down at this end. So we just think that it's tighter and neater, requires less of a variance, and there's still plenty of room for the dogs after looking at other places. So whatever you approve, we would then, neaten it up, have the engineer draw it as it is, and then before final plan, submit it to Talia that way.
Yeah, let me add. You gotta come in with what your request is. So whatever that is, they can only they can only respond to your request. So it's a reactionary board in that sense.
Okay,
You ask for something, they either approve or deny.
okay.
But they're not gonna, I think it's gonna be very difficult for them to approve something when you've got two different plans.
Can you approve what's on the, should we?
Can we just-
Yeah, then I guess.
Can we grant the necessary relief for this plan? Knowing that they're gonna reduce it. We're granting relief.
They can always take less.
Exactly.
That'd be great,
So if
exactly.
we're granting
Grant
relief
the largest.
regardless, does it matter that we're granting slightly more than what they actually plan? Do
No,
they
they-
have to come in for a modification of that relief?
All right, that's a good question. The answer is, you're going to grant, they have to ask for the relief. If you grant it and they don't take advantage of all of that, that is fine.
Okay,
You're not required to use it all. Matter of fact, you're not required to do it at all.
okay.
All right?
Then we'll ask for what's on the plan
Yep.
for tonight.
I think that's probably the easiest.
Yeah.
All right, so just to
Yeah.
clarify, I mean, it's on here and the app, I think it's on the applications, well, so for the fence itself, for the outdoor runs, the distance is by the ordinance is 150 feet.
Mhm.
And the
Well, so
applicant,
it's,
the applicant is looking to reduce that to what?
to clarify that comment, so it's structures or fenced in areas. So they need a variance for both the structure and the fenced in area. And in my memo, there's the distance that I have from the corner of the building and then from the fence, which are two different measurements because they're located at two different places on the site itself.
Phil, do you want a hard copy of the memo?
Yeah, it's got it up here, but.
I just have a question. If the building is already there, the variance that Growing Crazy got doesn't apply to Pavlov. So you have to re-request the variance?
A different use.
So it's a
right?
different use, and because it's a different use, there are different dimensional requirements associated with that use.
Gotcha.
So as a result, you'd have to pursue the variance for this use.
Okay, so just to get everything clear in the open, so fence is 150 feet by the ordinance and the applicant is.
Or the
looking-
structure.
Or the
Or the
structure.
structure and so the variance for the fence, we're looking at reducing that 150 to what,
50.
15, okay.
Do we have to specify for the fence? That way,
Yeah.
we're not necessarily allowing an expansion.
Let's
in
do
future.
both, let's do both, so it's a, they're asking for relief of 135 feet
Right, 135
for the fence.
for the fence.
For one corner of the fence. And then the other corner of the fence would be approximately 55 feet from the property line.
But kind of as we
95.
discussed, it doesn't, I
Yeah.
guess, the 135 is the worst case, so we even need to address the other side of the fence.
Well,
If
I
we
mean,
do, we
again,
gotta specify exactly.
we can only deal with what they've asked for.
Okay. And then the structure itself, the building, we need to address that separately.
So I think you should say we are, it seems like you're in favor of granting the variance. I don't know if that's true, but that's my assumption right now.
I'm just trying to,
So-
I'm trying to
so
work
you'd
out, actually, I'm
say-
trying to understand what the request actually is.
Because
So
there's
you
two,
would-
two
yeah.
pieces, right? There's the fence piece, so if they
Yeah.
decide not to put a
Right.
fence in, they still need the variance from the building itself, for the
Right.
change in use.
Yes, exactly.
Yep, so the variance for the building itself is
You'd
is
say
what?
we are
go from
going
150 to,
we're going to be, we find that it's appropriate to grant the variance for the fence for this distance and for the building for this distance.
okay, but right now, what is
What's
the,
the
what's
building
distance? What's the building distance?
So the building itself,
1561.
What is it?
1561.
one is 50, one corner is 50 and
50,
then one
61?
is 61.
Oh,
If you-
50 and
Yeah, on
61.
the west side, it would be 50.
Yeah, I
If
know
you
it- I
open
know
the memo, it's the first paragraph lays this out.
Yeah, no, I know it's in there, but you know, we have public here and
Yep.
I'm trying to keep this
Easy.
fairly simple, boil it down to the nectar of what the actual request is, rather than confuse this. So essentially, we have a variance request for reducing the distance of the fence to the property line from 150 to 15, and the building would be 150 to 50 in one case and 61 in the other corner. That's essentially it.
I think this summarizes it pretty well.
Yes.
Yep, okay.
You could feasibly have the other point for the other corner of the fence. But if your primary concern is the 15 feet and less the greater distance, you could feasibly establish it at 15 feet. But I would say the caveat would be that if you were to do that, then they could have a fence that goes in that direction. So you'd have to, ultimately, they could have a fence that goes 15 feet from the property line straight across, which,
Mr. President. Chairman, excuse me. How
I
about this?
like president.
President. Mr. Chairman, how about this? So I think, are you asking for relief of 135 feet for the fence, as shown on the plan we're looking at?
Yes.
Okay, are you asking for 100 feet of relief for the building, as shown on the plan we're looking at?
Yes.
Why don't we reference the plan in the decision? That way,
Okay,
the fence will be as shown on the.
all right. Another question I had is, so move that down. So just to clarify, the abutting property owners, we have, this is R2.
yes.
Is that Meadowbrook residential property where there's housings from the Meadowbrook development?
So I believe that the property directly behind it is a residentially zoned property with a residential home on it. That person would have received notice.
What's this right here?
So we can point these things out.
Preserve, 87 Kingstown Road.
All right. Hold on a
Oh,
second.
yeah.
So,
Yeah, but all those.
That's their-
all those
that's their
houses
old
are-
entrance.
that's all Meadowbrook.
Yeah, so you
Yep,
have their
right.
old entrance.
wait a minute, this is
That's their old entrance.
This
This is
blue line,
preserve, this is preserve.
But
Yes.
4-3, for example, is right behind.
Yeah, okay, so this is preserve, so this is really one of the, immediate abutters of that Okay, and this is,
1510, 15:1.
this is essentially this house here
Yeah,
Yeah,
these are all.
and this house?
No, that's part of
Well, that's part- yeah, that's-
the commercial property.
Right,
That's
what
part
happened-
of shoreline.
Yeah, what happened there? Cause that is, right,
I think-
that's that warehouse, whatever that is back there.
I think that, I think the property that has been selected right now is actually owned by Shoreline. You can tell based upon the property card.
Oh, this is owned by Shoreline now?
Well, it's owned by Joe Catelli, who's the principal of Shoreline. So,
Okay.
These aerials also aren't rectified.
I mean, honestly,
Yes.
the reason I ask is because quite honestly, it's just to boil it down to what I see as an issue here is, I'll just go right to the point is the whole 150, because I was on the board, I forget, you were on the board, right? Or maybe not, when we developed the ordinance for kennels.
Well, we changed it for the PD zone.
But we came up with 150-foot setback for the kennels because of the concern with noise. That was the reason we did it. And we said, you know, if you're 150 feet from the property line, there's enough distance that, the barking is not going to be substantial. So I'm looking at this and I'm saying, right now, that definitely affects this. You'd have to look at other areas that are, I don't know who else, like, I don't know if this property, how about this property line, is that 150 from there? I don't know.
It's probably close, because that building's 90 feet long.
Oh,
So you take that building and.
So the owner of this property and this property are the same person, and one of them's at the.
Right, so that's what I'm saying, that gets rid of a lot of that concern, so that leaves,
1510.
how close are these guys to there?
To where?
So the property line here to where that kennel is going to be, the closest that kennel
So
the closest the outdoor run's going to be.
Bring it closer to the other.
And right, we're talking about
This building.
that one, so,
No.
no,
This
no,
one?
No,
This one?
that building.
yes, that one.
So
okay,
this is the corner.
right, that's
So
the,
So bring it to this
Growing
corner right
crazy.
here.
Yep.
yeah,
So
so
that's
we're,
about 200 feet.
okay, so we're 200 feet from there, okay.
Yeah, anything that was in 150 feet, we went and talked to. So I live at the preserve, we got their blessing. The stuff in the back is Joe Catelli, we have theirs. And then the stuff that is in the area like Shoreline and Elena's, and I thought, Elena says outdoor seating, are they gonna feel like it could be annoying
Right.
if they hear
Yes.
it? And they felt the opposite. They've closed their coffee breakfast spot in the morning because they don't have the business. So they said they'll take the dog barking just to get some more business.
Okay, and
areas.
honestly, I'm trying to protect the
Yeah.
applicant, the applicant too,
Thanks.
because as you know, we have a noise ordinance in the town. And
Yeah,
quite honestly, I was very concerned not knowing that you already own this property, because from here to here, the ordinance states that the sound measurement is 60 dB. If it exceeds 60 dB at the receiving property line, which would be right there. And quite honestly, there's no way you could satisfy that unless you had very quiet dogs, which you're not gonna have. So what would happen is if.
well, Allison's gonna be in charge of keeping
Right.
the dogs happy, so she has to keep them quiet.
But if someone was living here, they would just be calling the police every day, and you get $500 fine every day, and it would be
Yeah.
it'd be terrible.
Phil, all of these owners have gotten notification. I mean, they were all here for Mr. Catelli's other
Yeah, I know,
development.
I know that, but just because owners don't show up doesn't mean it's not the board's responsibility to protect their rights also.
The other thing is, well, I
But that-
I trust that you
makes you
talked
feel a
to
lot better.
everyone. It doesn't help us if we don't have anything in writing. We can't base decisions off of hearsay.
Well, Joe was here the last time, Catelli. I mean, I can get him, and Joanna from Fetch, she's the one who originally turned it into to the use of a pet store. And I mean, I can certainly have, I mean, it makes sense. Mama Earth needs the business and as does Elena's, but I could certainly get them to put it in writing, but it's kind of illogical that that little strip mall needs some life or it's gonna be 4 vacant buildings.
How do we
Not-
know none of the abutters are here?
Good for a town.
How do we know none of the abutters are here? You haven't
So,
been in the
so,
public hearing.
so I probably should have clarified it prior to the opening of the public hearing, but, the board's receiving, information now from the applicant and our town planner. when we've addressed all our comments, we're gonna open this to the public and ask if there's anybody online that wants to comment and they'll have an opportunity.
Presumably, the mailings went out to properties in that radii of the entire parcel, right?
Yes.
So I have a signed affidavit as the clerk. It's my job.
Yeah.
To process all of the public hearing use. I have to put it in the Westerly Sun. I have to, per the square footage, notify all the property owners within such. A part of my affidavit will show the listing of that as well as the ad number for the Westerly Sun. So all of that has been met and it was well in within that 14 days. And additionally, I have received no mail, because I checked the mail too, and we have not received any mail or phone calls, or I have not received any mail or phone calls in regards to this application.
I appreciate what you're saying in regards to noise and noise ordinance, but I have a hard time speaking on behalf of abutters that haven't.
I'm
necessarily
not,
said
like I said,
anything or
I'm not necessarily speaking on behalf of the abutters. I'm speaking on behalf of, I mean, the ordinance was written in such a way to ensure that we didn't have noise issues. I think we would be negligent not to at least address it, and I think we are by finding out that, you know, that the abutters are, at least the residential abutters, you know, are at least 150 feet away, or the applicant owns the property.
Yeah, but they were notified.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
What is the radius of the notification for variances? 200 or 500 feet?
200.
200.
Yeah, so
I think this was 500.
This one was 500.
Oh, okay.
yeah.
That's so even more
Pretty
thorough.
significant.
Okay.
I don't
And, you
have my
know-
laptop.
Okay, that was my main concern. Other board members have
Yeah, cause you can
questions of the applicant.
hear a barking dog at 500 feet, pretty good.
No, I know, and barking's one of those things that, quite honestly, it doesn't even have to be, you know, whatever, very loud, but, you know, in the morning, it could be a problem, but.
Alright.
Okay, so other questions, concerns, anything?
No.
All right,
There, so there aren't apartments in here, or are there?
No.
They're not, there's no residences in here? Okay.
no, there's the.
That's just my concern with anytime there's a
Car
rental.
sales,
Yeah.
right, we got,
But anytime there's a
Miscellaneous.
rental, right, the notice goes to the owner of the building.
Right.
Not to the resident, so just, you know, specifically when we're talking about residential around, that's always my concern.
okay. So at this point, well, let's ask if there's anyone from the public, you know, that would like to comment.
Lock them up or just?
Yes, if you please come up and, yeah, give your name and, your address.
For the record, my name is Jordan Carlson, I'm from 29 Buttonwoods Road. Just want to ask a couple of questions.
Okay.
Normally,
Speaking of noise.
Noise.
about- Is it normal for applicants to receive their state permits for the activities they're doing before you're granted approval, or is that something that they're normally?
So right now, we're discussing just the variance, and then they would have to at least they would need it by final approval, right?
Yes.
Any permits.
And then also for the public record, you used the word facility with that. Can you give me what you guys are using for the legal definition of the word facility?
Is this relevant to this application?
Very relevant. I'm I'm here to speak publicly and ask a question about your application. I want clarity on the legal word that's being used, facility.
Well, hold on.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, it's public comment. You are free to make public comments. Continue.
I'm asking for clarity before I'm able to fully comment.
The definition of facility,
Yes, please.
I don't know if we have a definition of facility in our ordinance, or is that,
Well, he's here to define words, right, to make sure you guys are on
I
track.
don't know, Chris, I'm sure could address that.
Would you give me the definition of that, please?
No, actually, I can't. But you're free to make comment.
I
Comment all you
can't
wish.
make an educated comment until I have that answer from you, the solicitor. I'm asking.
I answer questions from the board.
Okay. Okay, I'm asking you, can you give me the definition of facility? It's a very.
I personally
It's
can't,
not a gotcha.
and
I'm just trying to.
Tal,
figure it
you're
out.
saying we don't have a definition of facilities, I believe.
Just putting that in the public record that you're telling me you don't have a definition for the word facility as a plan.
What's the context of this
Independent
question?
of,
Well, I wanna, before I make my comment on their business, I just wanna make sure I have all my information right. I'm fair to do that right before I make an uneducated
And you're not
statement.
answering my question. What was the context of your question? What
Context
facility of what?
Is, for the facility, you're talking about, you're granting an ordinance for the sound of 150 feet, right? You're
I'm not
discussing that.
granting.
For them to, you're granting a variance of sound, based off the sound, he just
No.
mentioned.
it's
No,
not.
I'm saying,
it's
I'm
not
saying
sound
I'm
variance.
saying when we developed the ordinance and this was a while ago, a major consideration was to alleviate issues with sound.
Chris, you seem aggravated that a member of the public is asking a very simple question.
I'm not aggravated.
Well, I just don't understand why you might not want to.
So I believe we don't, I'm not
I can
aware,
filibuster
I'm not
for
aware of
hours.
a, I'm
I
not
could ask for
aware,
the definition of every word.
I'm not
used
aware of a
legally,
def-
but the
I'm
opinion-
not aware of a definition of facilities in our town
What's
ordinance.
the definition of fence, please, before I make a statement about the fence?
I'm sorry, but we don't, it would be illogical to define every word in.
I'm not asking
our
for every word. You're
ordinances.
granting a variation on a fence. What's the definition of fence?
We don't have a definition of every word in our
You-
ordinances. It would be
Legally.
senseless and illogical.
All right, so which section, if I want to.
You know, I'm sorry, sir, but your 2 minutes is up. I'm gonna have to ask you
My
to
2
sit down,
minutes
please,
is
so we
up.
can progress with this meeting.
You haven't even.
You're
I haven't even
free to
spoken.
make comments, you're not free
If
to have
you-
a back and forth.
if you
and
want-
for us to
I asked for a
find
definition before I.
words.
I'm telling you clearly, you've heard it
Very
from our
weird.
solicitor. I asked my solicitor and my planner if we had
Then name a
definitions.
definition.
We do not have definitions. You could look it up in the Webster on a Bridge if you want.
Is
But
that what
anyway,
the
so
law is
do you-
written by? Is it based off of
Would you like
Webster?
to move forward on this? I'm not gonna entertain this discussion tonight.
Okay, for the record, you don't want to
For
discuss.
the record,
words that you-
I am not going to hear any more comment from you that is not different than trying
Okay,
to give us, asking the board.
you're all
for
acting like
definitions
fascists
on
while this
every
lady's trying to
word in
open an
our
easy
ordinance.
business
It's
here.
just senseless.
You're all acting out of
You're
line.
just playing a game. Please sit down or you're
No.
welcome to.
No,
come up with
My
another
comment is, for my 2 minutes, because now since I'm not allowed to ask questions to clarify information, you've made that known for the public record. Secondly, my comment is, you guys are all fascist dictators and you're talking for people she sent out
I'm gonna
notice.
have to ask you to sit down or I'm gonna have to ask you to
Is
leave.
free speech not granted here?
Do you have a comment on
My
this
comment it is,
application?
yes, I do.
What is it?
Am I not allowed to lead into that? I have 2 minutes, sir. I'm
You
saying,
missed them.
the way you're handling this is fascist for these people. I'm in support of,
Sir,
Their
do you know
fence
what the
variation.
definition of fascist is?
I was trying to be nice as possible
All
with
you're
my
doing,
citizens here. sir.
all you're
On
doing
your
is
part, they go back
obstructing
and
the
forth.
public meetings. That's all you're doing here tonight.
You guys just
There
spent
is no
1 hour
benefit in you being
talking
here
about
whatsoever.
straw man
Please
arguments
sit
for people
down,
that aren't
leave.
here.
Or I'm gonna have to ask you to leave this room.
So you're kicking me out of a public room?
I'm
for
not
using
kicking
my free
you out. I'm
speech.
asking you to sit down
You
so
just
we.
said I'm gonna ask you to leave for using my free speech. My
I'm
kids
not
are here. I
gonna
want,
have
this is a
any
lesson in
questions.
civics for my children. That losers like you guys run boards like this and think you have so much power. This lady's trying to open a simple business. She's
Why
doing
don't you
everything
run for the
possible.
board?
You run people rampant here. It's crazy. Yes, I support them. I hope they have great business here, but unfortunately, you're probably not with assholes like this. And I'm sorry that you guys feel so challenged by somebody coming up here to ask you something that challenges.
Maybe you
Why
should
don't you
join
just shut
a,
up?
maybe you
Why don't
should
you shut
join a board
I don't give a
yourself.
fuck about your boards.
Maybe you should
Listen,
do
I
something
like the free
constructive
speech.
with your
I like
life.
private industry.
No, you are a
constructive
worthless
guy.
piece of crap.
Okay.
Please-
Good.
everybody.
Keep it up.
That's enough.
I'm a private citizen of this town. I'm a resident. I'm also a businessman here, and I've
Okay.
created more business and more
Yes.
jobs than you've ever
All right,
imagined in
great.
your life. Sir,
Please sit down so we can.
I'm gonna enjoy the
business.
First Amendment that I'm granted.
We're trying to,
she's good. She should be able to do this. You guys are wasting her
we're
time.
trying to do that for her.
You're wasting
tonight.
her time. You spend an hour talking about stupid ass shit.
You're grandstanding for your camera.
That's
That's not
okay.
even my
Get your
camera.
point across.
That's not my camera. It's a small shitty news organization I
Get
found to
your
come
point-
cover this
get your
because nobody
point
else will.
across So we can finish processing our application. That's all we want to do.
We
All
are
right.
Is to
trying.
help her
So be-
open a new small
So,
business.
okay, give me the definition of facility, dude. Is it so hard?
Why don't you go on your phone and look it up?
Okay, why would I do that? I'm asking you what you're judging the word based off of. What's your information? How are you judging that word? You're not telling me.
What is your question around facility? I don't
I'm
understand. You're not
questioning
answering
that.
anything that we ask you back.
Okay.
What's the
Simple.
point? What's the point of asking
Motocross
questions about
thing.
facility?
Because I wanted to clarify legally for the record what you guys were
Towards what
talking about. Her
purpose?
facility, her
Towards what
dog
purpose?
facility. You said she had her state permits. I'm trying to figure out what those are.
Chris, what is your recommendation for
Do
being
you
able to
have a
conduct
comment
this?
on the application?
Yes, I do. The comment on the
Please do.
application is you guys are shitty at your jobs with this application. That's the job.
Okay, well, I appreciate
Do
your.
you have any other comments?
Yes, you should be able to have your fence. I hope you do, because there's nobody here fucking arguing for the fact that you spent your money for your lawyer, you sent out notifications. Nobody's here and you got dickheads making straw man arguments for people that aren't here to make the statement. The whole point of government is for variances to exist, and the people that would defend them here
All right,
aren't here.
now
and
you're
You're defending
now
them.
you're being belligerent.
No,
There's no reason
is
for
this
that.
out of line, sir? Please, is this out of line?
Is your comment-
Please
is
answer
your-
that. Is he out of line? Yes or no? Am I
Is your
still within
comment
my
on-
bounds of free speech to make my comment for her business?
Are you finished?
I'm in support of it. No, I'm not finished.
I don't.
So hold
believe-
on,
I don't
please stop
believe-
talking, because the lawyer here said, let me finish.
Okay, just let him go.
All right, for the record, you were an asshole for even interrupting me because I asked a simple question.
I
You
didn't
felt challenged.
interrupt you. I told you I did not have an answer for you.
I asked for a definition. How are you even judging her on anything if you don't even know English? So any word that was written by a lawyer, how are you even judging if you have no intelligence? You can't tell me what facility means. Good luck. I wish you the best.
Thanks for your comments.
No, thank you.
Is there
I can't wait
any-
till you're gone. Let's go, children.
All right, are there any other comments from the public? We know if we have anybody online.
Susan's gonna find it.
All right,
Piece of
Sorry, you
shit.
kids had to hear that.
can we take a brief recess until we get Susan back here?
See if she's done.
I just can't move the meeting forward until we get Susan.
Yeah,
back,
no,
so.
let's see if anyone's. See if she's-
Yes, keep it. We're all set then.
I don't even
Sure,
care.
thank you.
Okay, so Susan, do we have anybody online from the public or public comment?
No one has raised their hand. Nope, I think you're good.
Okay, so we've heard testimony from the applicant, we've heard from the public, good or bad. At this point, do we need or can we have a motion to vote on this for the variance?
Sure. Yes.
Okay. All right, so based on what we've heard, it seems like somebody would probably like to make a motion on this variance.
All right, I'm going, oh, you wanna do it?
Nope.
I wanted to take it. I know.
Well,
Sorry to speak first. Let me give it to you.
I was gonna, so we're gonna need to read the distances on that variance, like the actual distances that we're granting on that variance, and they will need to be for the fence and for the building.
Correct.
Still time, Dan.
Okay.
So I move to grant the variance.
You're making a motion,
So
motion to grant?
make a motion to grant the variance. I need the address, I think.
So it would be for dimensional relief.
Vote to grant the variance for dimensional relief for the property at 93 Kingstown Road. That relief consists of 135 feet of relief for the purpose of a fence and 100 feet of relief for a building that is changing use.
And that would be as shown on the plan that was submitted.
Yes, as shown as on the plan that was submitted.
Yeah, I think what they're actually asking.
Under
for is
Unified
15 feet
Development
on one
Review?
side and 51.
Let's reference the plan. So Mr. Stacy, it would be as referenced in that plan from American Engineering, Inc., dated.
Well, it would go up. It would be that top box, right? One more up, Susan? Yeah, there you go. So wouldn't it be development plan for?
Yes, as as reflected in the development plan dated 9/19/24 for Pavlov's Play Care Incorporated
And that plan was drawn by American Engineering.
by American Engineering.
Inc.
And you would say that that granting the variance is, well, the board is satisfied that the following standards have been comported with in relation to the granting of the variance, which is what's delineated in 45/24/41D. So you want to say pursuant to satisfaction of complying with
Pursuant to compliance with 45/23/50.24,
24, 41D.
24/41B.
Yes.
I believe that is a long, complete, and somewhat disjointed motion.
Wait, did you include the, oh, we need a second. All right, I'll second it.
Okay. Yeah, did we, go ahead, Dan.
Did you actually include the distances?
I included the distances for both the building, which was 100 feet, and the fence, which was
135.
135.
Okay.
With that said, is it common practice in this discussion, right?
Well, not
Yes.
yet.
Oh, no.
Yes.
Well, I already seconded
Yeah,
it.
Oh, you did?
I did,
Okay,
yeah, and I asked that
Thank you.
question.
Is it common practice to grant relief as 110 feet or granting 110 feet of relief, or can you make a motion from where it's at to where it would need to be? You know what I mean?
It's
No.
typically the,
I'm not sure what you
You're
mean.
It's
granting X
typically
amount
the-
of relief.
Is it the delta or is it the, yeah, okay.
it's typically the amount of relief
Okay.
that
yeah,
you're
that's-
granting.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes.
So if someone, say the request, say it was 10 feet and they were seeking a variance for 6 feet, you would say, okay, we're granting a variance of X from.
Okay,
Y.
yeah, okay.
Do we have to specifically call out for the hardships from the variance? Do we have to describe each of those three? Or,
In the findings of fact, because this is quasi judicial,
Mhm.
you're gonna wanna discuss your findings of fact.
Mhm.
Right, the reasons why you're meeting the standard that it's more than a mere inconvenience to enjoy this beneficial use.
is that something, well, after we vote on this, we're not gonna have the ability to make that determination, are we? But we have to do that.
You should
in
do
the-
it now. You should do it now.
Yeah, because it's part of the variance
So
request.
we have to
so-
amend the motion.
No.
No.
You've made a motion, you can make a finding of fact right now.
So the building itself, as it stands today, does not meet setbacks, rear lot setbacks.
Yes,
And so
Does not.
to make it meet rear lot setbacks. would
you'd
be
have to pay off the
impractical.
building.
Yeah,
and move
could be
it.
impractical.
Yeah.
And that.
That would be more than a mere inconvenience.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then further that, the addition of a fence into that required rear yard is
Reasonable,
minimal.
yeah, it's reasonable in the event that you're going to be having dogs there and you can't just have free roaming dogs. That would be
As much as we
absurd.
all wish you.
Those days are gone.
So that is an allowed use. And this is minimal to that allowed use, right? So to deny the fence would be more than a mere inconvenience.
Yes,
You get-
yes. Do I
And then
have to
the
say
next
that?
criteria is the hardship is not the result of any prior action by the applicant. They were not responsible with the location of the building. And then granting the requested variance will not alter the general character of the surrounding area or impair the intent or purposes of the zoning ordinance or the comprehensive plan upon which the ordinance is based. So, I mean, this is located in the PD zone. This is an allowed use in the PD zone. It is adjacent to other properties that have similar zoning designations. Notice was sent to abutters. We don't have any direct abutters here opining in relation to the application. That doesn't mean that we don't take their concerns into account, but that if they came and they were to say, this is going to completely ruin my life for X, Y, and Z reason, which, you know, we've heard from members of the public, and you have to take that into account when you're making a decision, but that
We
might
did
not
hear from
necessarily-
one member of the public who supported this, fence.
That's true.
We did.
Yes, so, you know. So,
In a roundabout way, he did support it.
I think he directly supported you.
Just say we were taking too long.
Yeah.
Yeah, first time we've done it, sorry.
Well, that's the only thing he said that I agreed with.
All right, yeah, I'm sorry, you're the guinea pig, unfortunately.
and then you're also going to want to look at the dimensional variance component, which is, granted the dimensional variance, the hardship suffered by the owner of the subject property, if the dimensional variance is not granted, amounts to more than a mere inconvenience, meaning that relief sought is minimal to a reasonable enjoyment of the permitted use for which the property is proposed to be devoted. The fact that use may be more profitable or that a structure may be more valuable after the relief is granted is not grounds for relief. So you'd want to also include that particular component, but as Solicitor Zangari has mentioned on a number of different occasions, the dimensional regulations are a very low threshold to achieve. So these are all things that you should consider as you are considering the motion. I will tell
And
you
you can
that.
adopt those as your findings of fact,
Mhm.
if you find that those are accurate and agreeable.
I will tell you that I have, per my usual course, when there's a public hearing, I don't write a decision in either direction because I want to, if there are members of the public that provide comments that do change the application, you know, for the better sometimes, or, you know, if they can work something out with the applicant. I don't like having having a motion written up to begin with because, you know, there could be changes. So I don't have a motion written for the preliminary plan component for this. But you can still discuss the preliminary plan. You feasibly could close the public hearing if you were so inclined and then direct me to draft a motion in either direction, or you could keep it open and continue it to the next meeting and then have more discussion. It's entirely up to the board.
Don't we need to keep the public hearing open to be able to address the preliminary plan? Are we doing that?
We're doing
Yes,
that- we're doing
yes.
that now,
Yeah,
So can I just,
assuming you
Right.
granted.
can I just
Yeah.
clarify? So the motion was made on the variance request
Mhm.
and we haven't voted on that yet.
Right, so means a motion was made for two variance
Two
requests.
variances, sorry. And then we haven't voted on that yet, but we will vote on that and then move to preliminary plan with the
Yes.
public hearing still open,
yes,
at which point we will make another motion. So
yes.
we're good with this variance request motion, two variance request motion.
Yes.
I think the,
Well, let's
Well,
assume the
we've-
motion passes.
yes,
Yes.
we've,
No,
the
no,
motion
that's-
is successfully on the table.
I get it.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's all, so it's weird because you only have one public hearing.
Mhm.
And you have to have the variance heard first, and then you hear the preliminary.
Mhm.
And so it all happens in one public hearing. But you do have to make the determination on the variance first, because if you don't approve the variance,
There's no reason to
then
move
you
forward.
don't,
Yeah.
then there's nothing for you to review
Yeah,
going
yeah,
forward.
no.
And so let's see, okay, if the only time this would be a problem is if someone challenges it in court, correct? We approve the variance, and then someone says, oh, I don't like that you guys did that, I'm going to
A
what?
20-day appeal period from the recording of the decision.
Okay,
The only other question I have is, so we, you know, based on what you just recently stated on reasons for approving this, you know, we can adopt those in our decision. But do we additionally need to comment on consistency with comprehensive plan and land
Not-
use
so-
regulations or
So
no?
not for the variance
Okay.
component.
All right,
The
That-
variance
that's
component
another
is,
thing we're not used to, because it's the first time we've dealt with this process.
so for variance, you just have to meet that criteria.
Okay,
For the actual application itself, yes, you'll have to have the findings of fact, conclusions of law, consistency with the comprehensive plan, all that jazz.
okay,
feel like we should have had Nick Solitro here to explain how the zoning board works.
So I think we're good. We have a motion. We've had the second, we've had discussion. I think we're ready to vote at this point. Unless there's any further discussion.
On the variance.
All right, so all in favor of approving the two variance requests as stated by Kevin and additionally adopting the rationale presented by our town planner tonight. All in favor, say yes.
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 Yes. Aye. So that could have gone much smoother, much cleaner had at least, like I said, I always want to hear from the public, and I've sat here for 30 years. And this whole board sits here for free, voluntarily, to give their time to promote things like this. And I have no issues. I've gotten called names, I've gotten beat up, but the only thing I expect is I expect some respect for the process, that you don't be an obstructionist. And the gentleman that was here tonight was clearly an obstructionist to the entire process of government. And that was the issue I had with him, not him personally. He can sit there and get up every meeting he wants and call me any name he wants. I have no issue with that. But when you obstruct the process of government, that's an issue.
Well, thank you for being here, and I also forgot to say it when I first stood up, but thank you for doing a special meeting tonight. Because
Yeah.
I know you all had to agree to be here on a night that you wouldn't, so that is much respected, particularly after the assault.
Well,
So,
public hearing is
thank
still
you.
open, we still have to discuss it.
Yes, we do. But I just wanted to make that point.
Take 2 minutes.
No, okay.
Can I like
Oh, you did.
Okay.
You're blaming me, okay?
2 minutes,
Motion
2
to-
minute recess.
Motion to.
Okay,
motion to- I'll second it, I guess.
sure. All in favor?
Aye.
live.
All right,
Audio is back. You are back online.
okay, we are back. Awesome. All right, so we are still in public hearing. At this point, we are addressing the preliminary plan.
Say, if you have any additional questions for the applicant, now would be a great time.
Yeah, I think,
That's one of our questions in theory.
Yeah, I don't-
could you give me the definition of a facility?
Or a fence.
Or a fence, I'm sorry. So, no, just for the sake of understanding, so these dog daycares or kennels, whatever you want to refer to is, so they are, the permits are governed by the state of Rhode Island, and there's, I'm sure they have
They
their
may-
own requirements and
If you could
criteria.
just come to the
Sure.
podium.
They made a lot of changes. It used to just be breeding and then sort of kennel boarding, but this whole daycare and day spa is all pretty new. So the state added a whole bunch of different things as it relates to the square footage and you know, how many dogs you can have and how many people you need per dog. So we'll have to have all that approved and that license sent in to Talia, you know, before she gives it the final stamp.
Okay, so the whole well-being of the animals, the dogs, that's something that's pretty much already governed by the state.
Yeah, it's funny because it does, the whole project falls under the Department of Environmental Management and animal husbandry, and then also the waste disposal. So they handle all that. We have 2 dumpsters outside and, you know, how often we're gonna have it cleaned. So that all comes under the state. And we already got approved. We went through that motion once and we got a conditional 6-month approval, but then we didn't get through this process in time. So I would imagine we're gonna represent the same information and we should be able to get.
Okay, great. Like I said, I was just curious what that process was.
Yeah, and then our hours, I don't know that anybody asked, but as it relates to the noise too, we're gonna be closed every night by 7 PM. So we have a 6:30 AM drop off to 7 PM. It'll be kind of a staggered, I don't imagine all the dogs will be there at 6:30 in the morning, they probably all won't be there at 7, so it'll be kind of a staggered drop off and pick up, and Sundays will be closed. Saturday, we're requesting from the state that we can be open, but that'll be kind of as we go along if we need to be.
And the dogs would be like, if you had some overnights, they would be inside.
We're not doing overnights. So if we offer overnight, they'll go home with the people that work with us have offered to take dogs home and do in-home doggy daycare, but I just don't want to be responsible for anything for 24 hours a day.
Right.
To be honest, that was the decision there.
We have to do public comment again?
Yes, yes. Yeah,
Yeah.
I know that the issue of landscaping came up and I forget where I saw
So that
it,
was
but-
waived.
Yeah.
Okay, that was, so that's already been waived.
Yeah,
Okay.
we got a description too, if you remember, by the applicant of what the current landscaping was.
It's really pretty.
Yeah, and
It's actually well done in there.
yeah, no, I did see, actually, I drove in there today because it's been a while since I've been, well, when I go to Elena's occasionally, but I had not been to the dry cleaners, but I had not really looked at, Growing Crazies, area, but yeah, it is, the landscaping seems like it's.
Yeah, we're very fortunate because the building itself is
Yeah.
really pretty. We don't have to do anything.
It's
to
a
the
beautiful,
outside.
it's a
It's
beautiful
nice
building, no,
Yeah.
when that development came to the board a few years back, yeah, we were thrilled with it.
Yeah, Joe does a nice job. I mean, I think seen everything that he's built. He takes care of what he builds.
Yeah, no, that was one where it was proposed to us and it exceeded like anything we would have required for, architectural standards and everything kind of just like fit right in nicely.
Yeah, that'll help us get customers, I'm sure.
It will,
Hopefully some of those apartment residents have dogs.
That's right.
yes. All right, I think that's all I really had. Does anyone from the board have any other questions from the applicant? All right, and then at this point, I'm not sure if there's anyone out there, but is there anyone from the public who has any comment either in the room or online?
No one online.
Okay. All right, I guess with that, someone would like to make a
Make a
motion.
motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
All right, any discussion? Lacking any discussion, all in favor of closing the public hearing, say aye.
Aye.
All right. Public hearing is closed.
Mhm.
So at this point, if somebody would like to make a motion on approving the preliminary plan,
Make a motion, to approve the preliminary plan for Pavlov's Play Care for Dogs LLC, 1 Preserve Boulevard. It is located at 93 Kingstown Road. I don't have to say anything about the variances or anything like that. as
You
part
could,
of-
you could mention them. It's not
Okay,
necessary
not
because they've already been
necessary.
granted.
All
but-
right, yeah. Suite
Sure.
A207.
okay? Do I have a second?
The suite
Second.
A207 is not. the-
Oh, gosh, you know what? Rescind that.
Yeah.
Switched up there.
93B.
93, 93.
Yeah.
93B, okay.
Do we need to add consistency with comprehensive plan?
Yes, you'd
Yes,
have to,
sir.
you'd have to have the findings of fact, you'd have to have all of the ways that it comports with all.
I was gonna cheat and
Regulations.
use what we had for the decision when we
Yeah.
changed the use code, but that was the old comp plan, so I need to go back and look at the new implementation.
These all definitely. work.
Yeah,
I
is
haven't
it-
looked at through the zoning ones, but they're,
Yeah,
Oh,
as it complies with comprehensive goal, economic development 1, promote economic activities that enhance and complement the rural character and the natural environment of Richmond, as well as purposes of zoning 18.04.010C5 to provide for orderly growth and development that recognizes the availability and capacity of existing and planned public and private services and facilities.
And you're going to want to state how it complies with the regulations that are in effect. So you'd say, does this, is it creating a lot that doesn't have access to a property? No. Is it,
You're putting us on the spot with no draft motion, Tom.
well, I explained why I don't do draft motions, and if you want to do one on the fly, then that is your prerogative.
Well, that's
the
what we're
board.
doing.
yeah.
Exactly. So I'm just telling you, you do need to include some of these things for it to be a valid motion.
Drawing a blank.
So you just need the purposes of,
That's what I just cited the purposes of.
cited the purposes of zoning
Yes,
in the
Yeah.
motion.
yes, but you have to say, okay, does this comport with this section of our land development and subdivision regulations, or this section of our zoning ordinance,
Jump in
or
Is that in the,
Did you have some of those written up, Dan?
Is that in the memo?
Or they-
Yeah. let me just get to it.
I mean, it seems to me as the requirements for legally defensible motions are becoming more complicated and in-depth, at least a general draft motion would be helpful in the affirmative. Because it's getting increasingly difficult to do this on the fly for us. Or
Yeah,
at
no,
least
I-
for me.
No, I agree. And I've been doing this for a long time, but still, yeah, if you don't have it in front of you, it's,
Yeah.
I mean, I've
difficult.
I'll explain my rationale again, which is.
I
that,
understand.
When you have a public hearing, you never know what's going to happen at a public hearing. I think we saw that very well illustrated about, 20 minutes ago, that you never know what's going to happen at a public hearing. So to draft a motion, I
Could-
mean, I could, but
And then we
would it
could,
be worth my time if it's going to change drastically? I don't know. That's up to the board to decide.
well,
If you want me to write motions in advance and you are fine with them changing in many instances on the fly, then that's the board's prerogative and you can give me that directive.
I'm not
but-
trying to create more work for you.
Is it possible instead of drafting the full motion to, in advance, call out what in your estimation are going to be the pertinent parts of the land use regulations for us to evaluate? Just so for the purposes of making that motion, that we can call up and look at them and say,
I mean, that is what I do when I write a draft motion, so. Those things are incorporated into that.
Right, but in lieu of a draft motion, just
Giving us
things to,
citations.
including in the, including in the memo, here are the areas of the regulations to consider. And then at the point that we make a motion, we have those at our fingertips to be able to say, to sort of add those to the motion we make. You don't have to write up a formal draft motion, but just give us a frame of reference so we can go back through and pull those, instead of having to pull up the.
Like an outline, just a little, it doesn't have to be.
But I think what you're saying, typically we do have, well, most of the times we're requesting you to put together a draft motion. It's usually for the next meeting after public hearing, because
Yeah.
we have a whole bunch of things we're still trying to.
I
tie
didn't
together.
know in which direction
So
we were going to go.
this is
with the
this is a
variance.
little different. We're
So-
handling the variance, we're handling the preliminary plan, we're putting everything together.
You know,
And we're trying to move this whole thing forward and not say, hey, Talia, you know what, let's make a motion out, Talia, write a draft decision and we'll bring it up in December, but we don't want to do
That's not
that.
what I'm asking.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm asking for future.
Oh,
In
the future.
For situations such as these.
Such as this.
Okay.
That have,
We can get back to drafting the
Yes,
motion.
Okay,
yes.
yeah,
We'll talk
all right,
about
yeah,
this
we'll take,
afterwards.
yeah. Okay.
So it's 4524-30, which is the zoning laws.
Yeah.
Can we just state that? Do we have to be specific in the actual paragraphs that are within that regulation?
I think that you should be specific, but
Let me pull them up.
Chris, what's the thing that Nick works off of? When he
that's
does the-
different because the zoning board is
Oh,
quasi
okay.
judicial.
I wasn't sure if it would cross over with, I'm sorry, I was just trying to.
Appreciate it, but it's a different body with different
Completely.
rules and they do different things except for when it's unified development plan review.
Well, fortunately, we have just one thing on the agenda tonight. Take our time.
I mean, just a suggestion, Mr. Chair, you could cite the section of the ordinance, read that section, and in a very simple lay language, why what was presented before you meets that requirement. Take them one at a time. Doesn't have to be.
All right.
Yeah,
There we go.
Jen's
I got
it.
Jen's got it now.
All right.
Yeah.
So, in accordance with the zoning ordinances, Rhode Island general laws, section 45-24-30. In such that it meets the zoning regulations of promoting the first one is promoting public health, safety, and general welfare. Number two is providing for a range of uses and intensities of use appropriate to the character of the city or town and reflecting current and expected future needs. Number three is providing for orderly growth and development that recognizes following goals and patterns of land use contained in the comp plan of the city or town that are adopted pursuant to the chapter 22.2 of this title, which we just discussed. Natural characteristics of land, including its suitability for use based on soil characteristics, topography, and susceptible to surface or groundwater pollution, which is not an issue here because it's already developed. Values and dynamic nature of coastal and freshwater ponds, shoreline, and freshwater and coastal wetlands. Not relevant here. The values of unique or valuable natural resources and features. The availability and capacity of existing and planned public and or private services and facilities. Yes. The need to shape and balance urban and rural development and the use of innovative development regulations and techniques. I think the variance would count for that. So that was all within number three for orderly growth and development recognizes these 7 items. Okay. Number four, providing the control, protection, and or abatement of air, water, groundwater, and noise pollution and soil erosion and sedimentation, which is relevant. Providing for the protection of the natural, historic, cultural, and scenic character of the city or town or areas in this municipality. I don't think that's relevant. Providing for the preservation and promotion of agricultural protection, forest, silviculture. I don't know what that is.
Growing
Aquaculture.
trees,
It's what?
growing trees.
Interesting. Timber resources and open space. I think that's Number 7, providing for the protection of public investment in transportation, water, stormwater management systems, sewage treatment and disposal, solid waste treatment and disposal, schools, recreation, public facilities, open space, and other public requirements. Don't think that's relevant.
And Mr. Matt, it's not relevant because this is a retail use in a retail zone that's allowed.
Correct. All right, we got to get to number 16.
Oh,
Promoting a balance of housing choices for all income levels and groups to assure the health, safety, and welfare of all citizens and the rights for affordable, accessible, safe, and sanitary housing. Providing opportunities for the establishment of low and moderate income housing, number 9. Promoting safety from fire, flood, and other natural disasters, number 10. Number 11, promoting a high level of quality and design and development of private and public facilities. I believe that's relevant. Number 12, promoting implementation of the comprehensive plan of the city or town adopted pursuant to chapter 22.2 of this title. I believe that is also relevant. Number 13, providing for coordination of land uses with contiguous municipalities, other municipalities, the state, other agencies as appropriate, especially with regard to resources and facilities that extend beyond municipal boundaries or have a direct impact on that municipality. Don't think that one is relevant for this use. Number 14, providing for efficient review of development proposals to clarify and expedite the zoning approval process. I don't know if this one was efficient, but we're doing the best we can. Sorry.
It could have been efficient.
Number 15, providing for procedures for administration of the zoning ordinance, including but not limited to variances, special use permits, and where adopted, procedures for modifications. That one's relevant in this case. Number 16, providing opportunities for reasonable accommodations in order to comply with the Rhode Island Fair Housing Practices Act, Chapter 37. I'm not going to read the entire thing, but it has to do with Civil Rights, Disabilities Acts, and the ADA, which I don't think is relevant.
Right. Thanks, Dan.
I think you're adding those to your motion.
Some of them. The unrelevant ones.
All right. Any further discussion?
We need a second.
Oh, okay, that's right.
Second.
Okay, thanks. Second, as amended,
Second.
as amended, okay. All right, now, any further discussion?
I would like to add policy 87 to the motion.
Which is,
Yeah, I gotta get back to it.
Okay.
Sorry. Encourage new businesses to locate in Richmond to promote existing businesses.
there's a good one.
Yep.
All right. Anything else?
Oh, I think we've covered it all.
All right. All in favor of approving the preliminary plan, please say aye. Aye. Awesome. What? Oh, congratulations.
thank you.
A little tougher than I had expected tonight.
Thank you for your patience.
Sorry
Oh
for,
my gosh,
I lost it a little bit, but,
that's right.
This is a new process.
It certainly makes it a more interesting story for friends and family than we would have expected tonight, so.
Well, I mean, the good news is you don't have to go to the zoning board.
No, that's
Yeah.
very
We're
true.
here for 2 hours or plus the hour you're here before, but you got it all done one shot.
yeah.
No, I think the whole new way of doing it is much better, and I mean, you guys
This
are
is the
just going
fastest
to
we've ever done one of these.
once you get in the groove of it, it's probably gonna be really helpful.
Yeah, no, I mean, honestly, it was pretty straightforward tonight with one exception.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, looks like, good luck with the business. I think you're gonna,
Thanks, we're gonna do some events and
Do
things,
well.
so hopefully we'll see you all somewhere.
fortunately, my wife really wants to get another dog. We've been
Yes.
Without a dog for a while, and I keep trying to tell her, like, wait till like you retire, like another year or so, and like, she's like, so this is just gonna give her another, look, there's a daycare.
We're gonna do dog date night, you can drop your dog off with us, so you can go on a date, so it's gonna be perfect. So we're getting out. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, guys.
Bye.
Good night.
Congratulations.
Nice to meet you, thank you so much.
All right. Onward, announcements and or informational items, since none,
None.
awesome, thank you. All right, I will gladly make a motion to adjourn.